Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Zenkai Boosted, back with another draft. Coach of the Rockford Rams here, and I'm here to talk to you about my Kitakami Premier League, aka the KPL UBERS Draft League. Yes, we are playing with UBERS, these super legendary strong Pokemon that I have been wanting to use for a while, but I've never gotten to actually use in drafts. It's my first UBERS Draft League ever, surprising how long I've been playing draft for. But yeah, we are in the Kitakami Premier League, and we are gonna talk about the draft that I got, the rules and whatnot. So let's start off with the rules real quick. I'm gonna try to make this video as short and sweet as possible. I'm not trying to waste anybody's time. Let's just talk about these fire picks and talk about our draft, right? So of course, with the rules, we started off with a point pool of 135 Pokemon to draft 10 to 12. Sorry, not Pokemon. 135 points to draft 10 to 12 Pokemon, and of course, we have 5 free transactions during the season and whatnot, and we get to pick either up to 1 to 2 Ubers from an exclusive list, right? Because they're in 4 different tiers. If you pick a top tier Uber, which in this case I did since I was second overall, you don't get an option to pick other Ubers, but you can have like 2 of the third tiers, 2 of the fourth tiers, 2 and 3, a second tier and a third tier, so on and so forth, with different mix-ups. But I originally drafted one that was a third tier, but then I had to trade for a first tier for reasons I will discuss when I talk about my first pick. But of course, we do have to battle every week. Of course, you guys don't know about Draft League, which I assume most of you do if you're watching this video, that we have to play every week, bring a team of 6 out of our drafted Pokemon, and just try to win out. And this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going for the chip this time, baby. The Rockford Rams are ramming in. Let's go. So with that being said, we're moving on to our first pick of the draft. I was second overall, as I said here. So our first pick of the draft was Lunala. Now, originally my first pick was Dawn Wings, but I had ran into an issue. I did not realize when I drafted Dawn Wings that I was going to have to fuse this Pokemon, bring it every week, and do all this stuff. And I just started a brand new game on my Scarlet Violet version. Scarlet, I should say. And yeah, so I just got to the point where I could terrestrialize, and I was going to leave it there just because I wanted to change my in-game name and whatnot because I got the new tag and everything. So did not realize that, and then my good friend Dapper told me that I was going to have to actually do these things and get up to the point in Cascarafa to get to the auction, to get the items, to fuse these Pokemon every week. And I was just like, I am not trying to slog through this game, so therefore I'm not going to do that. So yeah, so we ended up trading for Lunala to my boy John, who had it originally, who he then got Dawn Wings, dropped it, and yeah, I'll talk about that at some other point. I don't want to talk about his draft, talk about mine here today. But technically, I don't have Lunala for first week. I will have Dawn Wings for first week, but I wanted to just go ahead and throw Lunala up here because it's going to be the definitive Uber on my team. Now, you guys can see about its stats there. Its stats are insane. It's got a fairly decent speed at 77, got 157 base special attack. This thing is insane. Even 113 attack is kind of nice, and a huge speed depth, so this thing can fill a lot of roles. It's gonna be a trick room setter for the team. I mean, it's typing is set for that. It can be offensive physically, it can be offensive specially, it can set up in both regards, I'm pretty sure. So Lunala is gonna be really insane to bring every week, and I am super excited to use it. Of course, like I said, I will be using Dawn Wings week 1 for my matchup against Mr. TJP of the Bundle Montreal. But that being said, let's move on to our second pick of the draft here. Second pick of draft being Iron Treads. Now, Iron Treads is something I wanted to prioritize early just because I knew the kind of team that I wanted to build. And I really wanted a good spinner out of the way and a good steel type. So therefore, Iron Treads was on the table. I'm nabbing it. This went all the way down, came all the way back up to me in second place. And I picked it up because I'm like, no way I'm leaving this on the board any longer. So Treads, of course, you guys know what it does. It rapid spins. It has a strong base 112 attack, and it's really fast for a bulky mon like this with a base 120 defense and 106 speed. It's pretty dang fast, and Booster can help mitigate that speed and make it a little faster, along with rapid spin, of course, because rapid spin's going to give it a +1 and make it speedier than most things. And it has good potential to pivot with Volt Switch as well. So I think it's a very good utility mon, very good for keeping the Shadow Shield on Lunala active, just because obviously Shadow Shield operates kind of like a multi-skill, and then I want to bring Boost Lunala every week, so it's going to be nice to keep that up, keep that option going with Iron Treads. So on to the next draft pick here. We got Hisuian Samurott, one of my favorite Pokemon in draft. Of course, Dark Water type with the sharpness ability and the ever famous Ceaseless Miss. I'm kidding. It's a 90 base accuracy dark move that gets spikes up. But it's going to be really nice to get the spikes up from Lunala. It's going to create a lot more closer damage ranges there. with the spikes up, and obviously it's got this mon is such good utility. Got access to flip turns, so it can pivot around, and with only base 85 speed, but you can mitigate that with a choice scarf. And its damage potential with sharpness is insane. After a swords dance, you're boosting all its cutting moves, so it's pretty crazy. And even has a workable base 100 special attack in case I want to bring like a bait spec set one week. It's very possible. So yeah, this thing is one of my favorites for a reason. It's super good, except the weeks where he tries to let me down my missing Cecil's Edge. But you know what? We shall mitigate that when the time comes and just pivot from those options, right? And of course, for the fourth pick of the draft, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up young Terra Iron Hands. Yes, we do have a high tier Terra ceiling in this league due to the UBERS running around, and Iron Hands is one of the best to do it, man. I mean, look at those stats, bro. That thing is insane. Obviously, it tapers off when you get to the special attack, and its def's not that great, but you can always slap an assault vest and fix that. Now, I should explain that Terra in this league is going to be a open Terra preview league, which means I can do any Terra I want every week. However, I have to let my opponent know before I play them what Terra I am bringing, and that gives me just a plethora of options to bring the Iron Hands. Just make it better with that bulk, that attack stat. It can do all sorts of things, has access to sword dance, bulk up, stuff like that, and can also just volt switch around and be bulky and just volt switch, fake out, come in, volt switch out, fake out when it comes back in, and just cause a lot of damage. Gets access to Supercell Slam and Drain Punch, so that thing is going to be able to even regain its health with Drain Punch, with really strong Drain Punches. Even in resistance it hits, you're going to get some health back. So Iron Hands is a mod that I'm really stoked to use with a Terra option. Shout out to my boy Jeremy over in UNPL, who actually used this to a great degree in Season 6. Like, this thing was a beast, so it really inspired me to draft it, so that's really cool. But moving on to draft number 5, pick number 5, we got Infernape. Now, you would think, oh, that's 2 fighting types. That's kind of weird. Yeah, but Infernape is him. Like, he does not care, bro. Like, this thing is, I mean, look at those stats, right? Its attack and special attack is essentially the same at 104, and it has boosting options in Sword Dance and Nasty Plot and Calm Mind and Bulk Up, so this thing can be a beast. Not to mention, it's such a Swiss Army knife Pokemon. It can do a lot of things. It can be a fake out lead with rocks, it can taunt, it can U-turn around with Scarf and do a lot of damage. It has Iron Fist and Blaze, so if you can get down to Blaze range on a potential sash and then just launch off like a massive overheater Flare Blitz in Blaze, it's gonna be insane. So this Pokemon gets a lot of utility, a lot of tools that I really liked for this team. Just really one of my favorite mods, one of my favorite starters in general. Like, Infernape has just been fantastic since Gen 4, and if you guys know anything about me, I've been playing competitive since Gen 4, so this mod has a lot of good util for me since back then, so I'm really excited to have it on the team. Been a while since I drafted it, and in general, so yeah, super excited to have Infernape on this. And now we move on to number 6, and we picked up the fat fish itself, Alomomola. Yes, indeed. Now, Aloe is important here for, I mean, I really wanted this mod more so with Dawn Wings, right? Because Dawn Wings is a little slower, a little bulkier, and I wanted to do wish passing strats and regenerator strats to kind of, you know, keep these fat mons and fat and slow mons, I should say, on my team healthier. However, you know, there's going to be some changes I make in week 2. You guys will see that, you know, after pivoting to Lunala, I kind of changed up my game plan a little bit on what I wanted to do with this team. So there's going to be a few of these members that I think maybe I'm going to move on from. But as of right now, I've only moved on from Dawn Wings into Lunala for week 2. So you guys I might have to do a quick video recapping on what changes were made, but you guys know what Alomomola does. It's fat, it lifts things, it flip turns around, and wish passes, it takes Rocky Helmet damage from things. So yeah, really solid mon. Moving on to number 7 here, we got Gardevoir. Now Gardevoir, I haven't drafted this mon in forever, I would say, in a couple generations, I think, just because, I don't know, it's never really seemed like my style, but at the same time, I feel like it provides a lot of utility with this team archetype. Just having like Scarf Trick sets, for example, I think are really good into neutering the defensive walls. I'm going to come in on Lunala, Iron Hands, and whatnot. So I think this synergizes really well with the team. I mean, it does give me another Psychic type, but it does also give me my Fairy type, which is kind of nice. And I think this thing can do a lot. It has a gigantic move pool for a lot of reasons. Has priority in Vacuum Wave. Like, this thing could be halfway decent, and I'm pretty excited to use it overall. And moving on to number 8, I picked up one of my specials, one of my favorite mods in draft, bar none. That's Young Dragonite. Now, the fact that Dragonite came down this late in the draft was pretty surprising, but not really, because this one was actually Terra banned, even though it was in the range for Terra. the people over at KPL, and I was part of the community myself, but a lot of us agreed that potentially Terra Normal A-Speed Banded Dragonite every week would just be kind of unfun and annoying to go up against in a lot of matches, so we just figured we'd ban it. But either way, even without Terra, Dragonite still does a lot of work with that multi-scale ability, its great attack stat, and boosting options in Dragon Dance and Agility. So this thing can still be a monster. I know I love this thing. It's my favorite pseudo of all time for a reason, and I'm super happy to have to pack it on the team as my dragon. And that, of course, completes my Fairy Dragon Steel Core right there, so not bad. And then on to the next pick after Dragonite. We have Seviper, which is an unorthodox pick, so to speak. Not a lot of people do Seviper, and much less will pick up a Terra Seviper, but with our Terra budget, because we were very Terra taxed in this league, sorry, I had very few points left, and Seviper seemed interesting to me just because of the specific tools it gets. I mean, you got Shetskin and Infiltrator, where Shetskin means you can status it doesn't matter, it's going to get rid of it. Infiltrator just means if you have screens, you're going to go, or sub, it's going to go beyond that. So you can sub on this thing, it can still glare, paralyze you, it can still attack you, so this thing's solid. Has some boosting options in Swords Dance and Coil, which is really interesting, which makes its gunshots a lot more accurate. It has access to key support moves like Switcheroo, for example, which I think is really nice, as well as Haze. So yeah, Seviper seems, I mean, this thing was a one-pointer. I think it could be a monster in the right hands. So yeah, I'm really excited to try to use it. It's my grounded poison for the team as well to absorb toxic spikes, so that's always a big help. Moving on to my next pick, we got Chimecho. Now, if you guys look at my team here, you guys can see that I have quite a bit of a ground weakness and or lack of ground immunity aside from Dragonite. So Chimecho helps me with that with the Levitate. It's also the only Heal Bell user on the team, and this one also is able to Terra, which Terra Fairy Chimecho, Terra Psychic, Terra Dark, like this thing can do a lot of work. With the stored power, Calm Mind, Iron Defense sets, like this thing can put in some work. It's a Trick Room setter for the team as well. Gives me my third Psychic type of the team, but honestly, I'm not too worried about that, just because it's going to be able to Terra for the most part. So you guys know what Chimecho does. This thing is a monster. I love drafting it. It's always such a good support mon. Can also pass off Wishes too, by the way, and it's like the only actual cleric, like I said earlier. It's the only one that gets Heal Belt in the game. So if you status my team, Chimecho is going to come in and say, don't care. So yeah, moving on to the next draft. We have our 11th pick. We picked a Sudowoodo. This is another one-pointer here. Now, Sudowoodo is kind of underrated in my opinion, especially considering the making of this team is very Trick Room oriented. Banded Rockhead Head Smash hurts. Even though this isn't a Terra option, and I wish it was, that hurts. And even then, it can still function as a sturdy lead, get rocks up guaranteed, and Sucker Punch for damage as it dies. It gets access to spikes as well. So I think this is a very interesting mon, and it gives me a flying resist as well because it's got a base 115 defense. That's not too shabby whatsoever. So I think Sudowoodo is going to find its place on a few teams if I don't end up moving on from it after my team changes, because I've always wanted to use Pseudo. I think it's super interesting. And for my last pick of the draft, and I don't even have a slot for this because I didn't make enough boxes, but I got Go-Go. Go-Go for round 12. I needed a grass type, and Go-Go just kind of made sense. It's got Sap Sipper, so it's a grass immunity, and it has grass pelt, so if I ever want to set up grassy terrain, it gets a +1, it gets a 1.5 boost defense. On top of, you can still pack a grassy seed, and you got basically a +2 defense at that point, so that's kind of cool. So it's a good defensive mon, it's a good defensive check to a lot of grass types that want to swap in to like Hammer Rod or something like that, and just do some damage. So Sap Sipper is always a great ability. Immunities are always good in draft, and this thing's at a base 100 attack. It's not bad. It gets access to stuff like Trailblaze, gets access to Bulk Up, Horn Leech, and whatnot. So it can be a pretty decent mod. Again, I don't know if this is going to be on the final roster once I make my changes next week, but you never know. So that's pretty much going to be it for my draft analysis here. I hope you guys are excited as I am to be watching, as I am to be playing. And this is the coach of the Rockford Rams, your boy Zenkai Boosted. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all for week 1 next week. We're going to be uploading every Friday. So until then, peace, friends.